Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Purdy Insurance. Visit Purdy Insurance on Market Street in Sunbury or visit online at purdyinsurance.com.
Let's bring in Ryan Snyder on 3.com. Ryan, first of all, welcome. We're getting him on now because Captain Responsibility has to go get the kids at the bus stop.
Not the bus stop yet. Unfortunately, they're still at that age where I have to go pick them up from preschool. Next year, Steve, we'll be at the bus stop.
Well done, sir. Well done. Well, it is great to have you with us. So.
Of course.
All right, so let's get to this story. I'm a little confused about a couple of things. One being, if you sat back and read the August 18th release, the Black Friday game is in there, as is a Labor Day Sunday night game in there, as is a Black Friday game on CBS. It's all in there and spelled out, so I don't understand what the dramatics happen to be on that part. Well,
I mean, I did report this 2 weeks ago quietly to not offend people on the Black Friday game. Yeah. I'm actually really curious to see who gets in that Labor Day game. Have they announced that, Steve? Who's on the Labor Day?
Have not, but we know it's not Penn State because they have West Virginia the night before.
Right. Yeah, I'm, obviously recruiting is my focus. I love following all the television stuff. I don't know why. It's always just been something I've been very, it interests me. If I wasn't doing this for a living, I would love to be involved in just, television sports and rights and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I would say I think it was the first time that's really been thrown out there for all to see. I mean, there was that release. I just don't think many people caught up on it. I mean, we were kind of keeping it on the low because we know some people weren't very happy with it, I would say, the way some things played out. And I was kind of waiting for some people to say 100% this is going to be Penn State, and it's 100% official. But, yeah, it's out there now. I just haven't seen too many. I mean, was it in their release that Penn State is going to play Michigan State in that release?
No.
Okay.
In the release on August 18th, they said there would be a Labor Day Sunday night game on NBC, that there would be a Black Friday game on NBC, and there would be a Black Friday game on CBS. It's in there for everybody to see, and it also was very plain that Fox gets the championship game in 23, 25, 27, 29, the odd years. CBS gets it 24, 28, and 26 is NBC. So I'm a little confused about what all the hubbub is about 9 months later.
Yeah, I just think I think Penn State fans are surprised. I think that's part of it. I mean, I would say this, so the Black Friday NBC game, from what I understand, is supposed to be on Peacock. So I would be shocked if Penn State is not the CBS game, just because it's Penn State, Michigan State. But of course, that's not announced yet. At the same time, I guess these companies are trying to sell Peacock and all their streaming services. So that's a way for them to try and, nudge major fan bases towards subscribing. But, as we've seen what they've done with Notre Dame, they usually put lesser games on there.
Right.
So that would make me think that CBS 3:30, Penn State, Michigan State makes a lot of sense. But I think this is just kind of the first time it's really been out there. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know if you've heard behind the scenes, but just the way, and Pete Thamel pretty much laid this out there. This was kind of done without really informing Penn State it was going to be done. And that's,
right.
I think what upset some people, it's a short week, right? And it's at the end of the season, too. It's a different story if it's blind. But, this is the last game of the year when you're already beat up, and now you're asking college kids to slash a day off of everything. So
there's only one plus out of it, Ryan. The only plus out of it, to me, if in this situation is, it is fall break, and there are no classes that week. That's the only thing that, to me, is a plus in all of this. Other than that, it does put Penn State in a tough spot.
Yeah. And, I guess the one perk, if they're in Big Ten championship contention, right, they get a couple extra days out of it. But there's a long way to go until then. So we'll see where it goes. But, I just, even with it, even if it was Saturday, you would still expect it to be a smaller crowd,
right.
As far as Michigan State's concerned. But I don't know. I just know that people weren't very happy with the way it was handled, and I think Pete's story really was the first one to really throw it out there of, some of the way Kevin Warren handles some things. And I don't know Kevin. I'm not going to sit here and speak poorly of him. I know that Penn State and other schools were, just a little upset with the I don't necessarily the aggressiveness. Obviously, the money is very important, but I think it was just, hey, fill us in on some of these things before you finalize them. And it is kind of what it is now. One thing I will say, Steve, is like the whole November night game thing. Like, do you think fans are? I think fans are open to that more than schools think. What do you think on that?
I think they're open to it more than ever. Remember, the Big Ten never used to play after Thanksgiving, and then they changed that up. I also think that this is where USC and UCLA come in to be part of the solution to all of this, because you have 5 night games in the month of November, because you have to include the Black Friday game. So 5 night games in the month of November in the conference that could be scheduled on NBC. Well, USC can host one. Let's just take this year's dates on November 11th. And the November 18th game, UCLA could host a game. And then USC and UCLA could take up a game against each other as the third one. That just leaves 2 to schedule. And to me, that helps solve the problem. That's how I view it.
That's a good point, yeah. I just know, from reading our message boards, like, our fans just want night games. And the I don't want to say the anger of Big Noon Kickoff. I think
they can't stand it.
What was that? Sorry.
I said the fans can't stand it. Big Noon Kickoff, right. They don't like it.
Right. As the media, we're like, oh, it's not too bad for us. At least we get home in a decent hour, jokingly. But no, I just think when you counter that Big Noon Kickoff part of it, fans are always clamoring for more night games. Just from reading our message boards, man, I think a lot of people are like, hey, I don't care. Like, if they get the opportunity to go to a Giants or an Eagles or a Redskins or a Bills game in December, like, they're taking it, And I just think that as we move on with this, change is always – sometimes change comes really fast, and I think that's what some schools – it's been pretty open that Michigan and Ohio State were against this as much as anyone because, hey, let's be honest, they're going to be 2 of the 3 teams down the stretch that are in the mix. I haven't heard as much as far as Penn State's upset with November night games, more so that – just the whole Black Friday thing and how that was handled. Right. But I do feel like when we get to year 2, 3, 4 of this, the whole night game November thing will die down because I think if people are going to learn, maybe Ohio State fans will learn with that Michigan State being in November 11th. They're still going to sell out the place. It's still going to be a fun time. Fans are still going to be happy. And you're paying all that money for a reason. Spending time with your family, enjoying those tailgates, those 8 hours leading up to it. That's a big reason why people are dishing out thousands of dollars.
Oh, no question. The tailgate experience is a huge part of it. But what really struck me was Michigan State at Ohio State November 11th, the Black Friday game, Penn State. So they talked about the sacrifices that they were making to make this work. That's fine, because we've seen that before. Again, which one of the big 3 didn't make a sacrifice again? Right.
Yep. There's 2 of those.
It's never. You notice, Ryan. It's never Michigan. It never is.
You know more than me. I can't. I'm not gonna. You know more than me on that one. I don't even know how to respond to that. But
no, they never. They don't move. They don't. When do they play on Thursdays? When do they play on Fridays? They don't.
That's a good point.
They haven't. Just go back. The problem when you're dealing with an athletic conference, right? That is collegiate, is you have a bunch of people that have the ability to read.
This is my favorite conversation I think we've ever had on air. I love talking this stuff, man. Like, we always just talk recruiting all the time, but we should talk TV stuff more often. Let's do like an hour segment on this. I could go all day.
Oh, no, I would love to do it because we talk a lot about TV on it because the business of this, right? The money is critical. If you're going to maintain 31 sports, you need this money to do this. So the money part I get. What strikes me is the forays into Peacock actually more than the night games. I'm more interested in what they want to do with Peacock because there are more Peacock football games I think than people realize.
10.
Yeah.
It'll be 10.
Yeah. Not a small number.
Yeah, Penn State's going to probably fall on one of those at some point.
Yeah, well, I would sure they would have to at some point, which would be really good for radio. No.
Right. There you go. I'm always tuning into you and Jack anyway. It doesn't matter.
But that's. I mean, so I don't worry about that. I think that again, part of the solution is USC and UCLA for November, because you can schedule quality games in prime time in November in Los Angeles, and that takes up 3 of the 5 right there. And I think it actually solves a lot of problems while still giving you quality matchups.
And let's be honest, like, is it just going to be those two? This is going to be the summer of change. We're going to see another domino or two fall this summer. You know, whether they go out west or whatever happens with the ACC, like, there's no way that in 2026 there's not going to be more teams in the Big Ten. I just don't see it happening. And obviously they have to get the right teams, because you can't cut that pie up more and you know, teams lose money. But, you know, I just see, and I understand, you know, say they add Oregon or Washington or whatever, you know, that doesn't really work, you know, with the whole November scene. It's cold up there too. But you can still find more ways to make this work. I still think the ACC is something's happening there. Like, there's just too much talk right now. And I know, get the grant of rights and everything, but, you know, there's 4, 5, 6 teams there, or schools, who seem pretty upset about that situation. So this is fun, though. This is why I love college football. The not the drama around it, but just the chaos of it, right? I mean, this is why sites like Blue White Illustrated exist, because no matter, you know, the season may only be 13, 14 weeks, but there's so much to talk about in the off season, from recruiting to things like this, that, you know, this is why we love college football. This is why it's the best sport in the country, without a doubt.
Well, yeah, I agree. This is why it becomes a 365 conversation. Tony Petitti has extensive background in media. Everybody, I've never met him. Everybody that I know knows him, thinks he is one of the brightest bulbs going out there. What can a guy like that mean in terms of smoothing this over and making it right down the road?
Well, he's got to get Michigan to cave a little bit, right? No, I'm just teasing, obviously. But I mean, I obviously I don't know him too well, Steve. You know, I think he's got a lot on his plate right now.
Yep.
But at the same time, you know, where else would you rather be than sitting in the Big Ten commissioner seat? Obviously, you've got a lot of, you know, powerful head coaches and powerful athletic directors who all want to do what's best for their school. But, I mean, we're still going to be talking about $80 million for a school, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
You know, there was talk about $100 million. It might be even 85. I mean, it's still going to be a lot of money. And, I mean, this is getting a little off topic here. Well, I can't speak to what Tony's really going to do for media relations. I haven't read on it enough. But I still think collective bargaining is coming. And that's why this money is going to be so important in the years ahead.
Yeah, by the way, the losses they're talking about here between COVID and NBC getting it comes out with 14 schools to about $4.5 million per. Mm-hmm. And it's 16 schools, they wouldn't be included, but it's $4.5 million per school if those losses. But if I'm the Big Ten, one of the things I do say to Mark Silverman at Fox is, we will do everything we can to get you to be one of the college football playoff partners. How about that as a compromise?
And it has to. It has to. I mean, they are too involved in this now. You know, everything from a Big Ten perspective. But I still think they're going to be involved with other conferences, too. I mean, do you see the talk today about ESPN pulled out of the Pac-12? And I get it. I mean, they are dishing out some crazy money for the Big Ten. But I just think Fox is too involved here. Yeah, FS1, FS2. They have a lot of channels they can fill. You know, I just see them not. This can't just be an exclusive Big Ten thing long term. So I think that'll absolutely work. There's going to be plenty of games to go around. ESPN is saving up money, though. You know, they passed on the MLS. They passed on Champions League Soccer. You know, what did they recently pass on? They passed the Pac-12. You know, there's a couple other things, and that tells me they are saving up a lot of money for the playoff. And you know, that's what that's their bread and butter right now.
And the NBA,
football, of course. And the NBA, of course. Yeah.
And the NBA, which is, I mean, those two are billions right there. That's billions. They're going to have to pay for each one of them, Ryan. And that's what they're saving up for. They are not sitting up and saving money for some of the things people think. And they're in the process of laying off staff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I Marchand and who's the other guy?
John Oram.
Yeah,
John
they're
Orwell.
great. Now, I read those guys all the time. This is why I'm so into this stuff. I love sports media and that whole conversation. But, yeah, we'll see. I could see a world where, the Fox gets some first-round games. I still kind of see a world where ESPN's getting the semifinals and the playoffs. I just think that they are really going to put some serious money into this. But we'll see. I mean, it depends on how much Fox wants to go off some other conferences and things like that. And, hey, man, we didn't even talk about basketball and what's going to happen with Big Ten basketball here moving forward. There's a lot of talk about streaming, and, there was that talk about how Izzo's a little upset with some things. So Tony's got a lot to figure out, but no doubt about it, 90% of that's going to be all about football.
Yeah, well, basketball is going to have a lot more streaming. And, in fact, the opening night of the Big Ten tournament is going to be streamed.
Interesting. Didn't know that. Okay.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. See,
don't we want to talk about recruiting? They did get a quarterback.
I know they did get a quarterback.
Recruiting with you, Steve. You threw me for a loop today.
Oh, I know, but I wanted to talk about this because I know you're so into it. But,
I love it.
But he is a good quarterback, so.
Yes, Ethan Grunkmeyer. We'll talk about him here for a second, just because he was in State College this past weekend.
Yeah.
Earned an invite to the Elite 11 finals. That's 3 straight years now that Penn State's going to have a top guy out there at the Elite 11 finals. 6'2", 190-ish from Olatangi outside of Columbus. Lot to like, man. I'll say this. He trains with Brad Mandler, who, of course, is known in Ohio as the guy who, not going to say created Drew Aller, but really kind of made Drew Aller into the player he is. And seeing him yesterday, look, there's a lot of differences between Drew and Ethan physically, but the release, the off-platform throws, the little things that Mandler has kind of, really taken a lot of guys. Ryan Montgomery's another. There's a lot of recruits who are being recruited off of Brad now. You could really see it in Ethan yesterday, and just some of the little things that are similar with Drew. Of course, again, there's a lot of differences there. I do like Ethan as an athlete. Ran like a 4.8-ish yesterday, 4.4 shuttle. There's some good things there. Not a crazy athlete, not a Tracy Swirler or anything like that, but an absolute quality player. We have him as a 3-star at the moment. I really see him moving up in the ratings. One other guy, too, who was here this weekend, Luke Reynolds, tight end committed to Penn State. Mm-hmm. I left there yesterday as impressed with Luke Reynolds as anybody there, and obviously Grunkmeyer had a lot of our attention. He's a player out of New England who was a quarterback actually a year ago, ends up transitioning to tight end. Another guy with off-the-record measurables, running a 4.7. I think he had almost a 4.3 shuttle, something like that. I mean, this is a true athlete here. I don't want to compare him to Mike Gesicki because those are incredibly high bars, but man, some of his numbers are really stacking up. Actually, his numbers are incredibly similar to Joey Schlaffer, who, of course, just enrolled not that long ago. Right. But, Penn State had 2 really good committed players at the Elite 11 yesterday, and 2 guys who, I wouldn't be shocked at all if we're looking at this in a month or two, and they're both 4-star players.
Glad we slipped that in. You need to go get the kids.
Is it that time already? Let's talk. What else do we want to talk? NFL rights? I mean, dude, the schedule just came out. That was so much fun. But maybe we'll set it for another day.
Let's set another day where you got all this time, and then we can go through all these. Because to me, the NBA contract, the college football playoff contract, and even to the side the Notre Dame contract are just behemoth contracts, especially the first 2. And that's what they're all saving up money for. For sure. It's going to be interesting, Steve. But, yes, my wife is reminding me. I just checked my text messages. She's saying, are you going to go get the kids? So I'm going to drop off right now. Steve, great talking to you. Hey, we got 4 weeks of official visits coming up, almost 45 players set to visit throughout June. So I'm sure we'll catch up here in a couple weeks. All right? Sounds great. Go get the kids. Take care, Steve. Good talking to you.